All right, hey guys, welcome back. We're doing another video that's not necessarily about like reviewing stuff, sorta in a way. We have this top 10 Advent of Genesis long-term viable cards. We picked 10 cards, Dean and I, that we think are like worth picking up and like holding play sets for if you want to like not for reselling or any purposes, but cards that we see in the future have potential or we know have potential in
Yeah,
future lists, right?
these are the cards that, like, probably won't go in the bulk box, these are the ones that are gonna stay in the binder, and you're gonna, like, have them off to the side when you're deck building, for, like, not only this format, once the set drops, but, maybe a year down the line, you're gonna be able to look at these cards and actually consider putting them in sleeves, right?
Yeah,
Not all cards are
exactly.
gonna be like that.
Yep. So let's just hop right in. Our first one, number 10, is a bit of a spicy one, I think, because I don't believe after set one releases this sees a lot of play. But I think Dean and I both agree this is the type of card that, even though it
That
kind of might fall off soon, it always has potential to come back and wreak havoc, right?
Yeah, so, this is Crazed Executioner. If you don't know, he's a 3-drop, you evolve him for 1, keeps his stats, but you get to look at your opponent's hand and rip a card out. The reason that, maybe he's just not seeing a lot of play is, maybe there's not any super heavy combo decks. Like, it's just the fact that, like, disruption is so powerful. Looking at somebody's hand, there's no way that's not something that you keep on the table when you're deck building, right? Especially if
Yeah.
you're trying to attack, like, a specific meta. If, like, a combo deck gets, like, heavy in the meta and it starts, like, showing up at locals, you throw this guy in, you're gonna feel pretty good as you rip their like, the card that's gonna kill you out of their hand, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that you get information while also usually playing a control deck with this guy is always good. So now you know certain big things you can let go and won't have to. You know your opponent won't have to answer for essentially.
Yeah, definitely a card that you would feel good keeping in the binder.
All right. Next here we have Silver Bolt. This is going.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
the history behind this one is it recently just actually won their first big event. I think it's like the equivalent of Worlds is what it was, where you had to like earn an invite and then they had to bring 2 decks. Forestcraft was in the winning deck list, like of the 2 decks he brought, and this was his big payoff for the deck. It deals damage to a player or creature equal to the number of cards in your hand, and it's a 7-drop spell, and it's quick. So I think this guy was like basically using this for just like 9 face damage. Like he just burned 9. Um, so that means that at the very least is booster set 3. So that's, going to be a full year after the game comes out. You're going to be able to sleeve this card and like still have it as like an option.
Yep, absolutely. Just having access to ways that close out games because what was it 20 life in this game, right?
Yeah,
So
but there's no max health cap.
yeah, but essentially, having a card that almost deals 50% of your starting life is pretty good overall. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, next
And the
card.
fact it just bypasses like anything that your opponent has and your opponent can't really respond to it either.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next here we have number 8, Ancient Elf.
Oh,
What
you
do
don't want to talk about it?
no,
You
I
want
don't
me to?
remember the effects offhand. Yeah.
Okay, Ancient Elf on play lets you bounce a card on your board to gain +1/+1, and then on evolve you get to bounce another card. The key thing about this is that Forestcraft is always going to be filled. I mean, if you play like right, all it's always about combo, how many cards you can put down, and like to get extra effects. And this is a way that you can continuously recycle your cards that have good come and play effects while building combo, and then generate a big body. Because the idea is that like this is a 2 mana card that gets additional stats by bouncing other costed cards on your board, right? So like the idea is that when you evolve it, is it evolve 2? Evolve 1, right?
It's Evolve 1. Yep.
Yeah, so this is a 3 mana 5/5 basically, and it gets additional stats by bouncing other cards, and that's kind of like the trade-off, right? It's like you have to put the card on the board in order to bounce it back to your hand, and the cost is that you lost the card on the board, but you get to keep hand and you can recycle come and play effects. So this is a very powerful combo tool, not only now, but going forward.
Yep, absolutely. It being a cheap enabler is very good. All right. Next here we have Merlin. Merlin has the evolve for 2, but then the big thing about it is when it comes into play, you got to search for a spell and add it to your hand. So Usually, search effects like this are very powerful, especially if you're doing cheeky stuff like playing D shift, so you can find your one or two ofs from your deck when you need it to go off, or if say if you get crazed executioner and lose your D shift, you can search out your second D shift using Merlin. It's just a very good way for consistency. It's fairly costed too.
Yeah, definitely just boost the consistency of any runecraft deck. I mean, runecraft's always going to be about spells. Being able to grab any spell out of your deck is going to allow you to be a little, maybe a little more greedy with your counts. And then the recycle effect is just a nice added bonus.
Yep, absolutely. On the evolved, you do get to play a 3 cost spell from your graveyard for free. So that's also another powerful tool. So the evolve form 2 is not something to scoff at. All right, next here.
Okay, number 6 is Made Leader. There's a lot of different cards in Booster Set 1, but we didn't want to just only list those, like the consistency search cards. Uh, this one probably is tied for the most relevant one. It on Evolve will allow you to search your deck for any card with Evolve in its like text box. So that means any card that can evolve is searchable with this. Definitely will set you up for not like maybe your turn 3 or 4 play. It can also grab key cards like Leonidas or your one of finishers in the mid game. And it's just like having a card in your deck that boosts your consistency is they're going to print more as time goes on, but like the first ones are always good as well.
Yeah, this is definitely a long term. Like there could be huge value in the future for this for sword because of how it searches out anything essentially.
Yeah, well, even if it's not like huge value, it's just like when you're looking at a deck, you go, "What's my best one drop?" Probably the one drop that gets me my 3 drop, right?
Yeah, yeah, something like that. All right. Next card here we have Trail of Light. So this is a neutral craft spell, and when this card is discarded from your hand, you can draw a card, or if you cast it, it's draw a card. Um, Card is cracked. What can I say? There's a lot of ways to discard cards in every single craft. So this card like will see play for like I feel like almost forever. What do you think, Dean?
Yeah, so not only is it like a lot of crafts can discard, but then there's an entire archetype called Discard Dragon that is going to be using this card as its like just to help alleviate the fact they're supposed to be discarding cards. It just like helps them recoup that hand and stay like in the game. But then this card is also good in Rune, of course, because they have like the Penguin Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's got this other thing that not only when you're playing it, but like it has a really broken interaction of when you go over hand size in this game, that would trigger this effect. But then you're forced to discard again. So you could see this as like a way, like if you hit max hand size to like aggressively filter your hand.
Yeah,
So like
and
if you have like an 8 card hand, yeah, you discard this, you draw back up to 8, you have to discard again. But it's like if you have like more of these, it's like you can just like filter. It's like a pseudo upstart goblin.
yeah, it's almost like you're playing with one less card in your deck, especially if you know for a fact that you're always going to be very close to max hand size, or you can force that max hand size. It's essentially like these are extra draws for no reason in those scenarios as well. So, like I said, it feels like you're playing with like 3 less cards in your deck if you play this as a 3 of, right?
Yeah. So it's definitely like this is the kind of card that it's gonna have like application for quite a while, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe like this is a type of card that is just going to see forever play unless they start some kind of rotation in this in the physical card game. All right. Next we have Blackened Scripture. This is the one that removes is it it's banished, right? In this
It banishes.
yeah, cost 3 or low, or sorry, is it
Uh,
power 3 or power or
yeah,
less?
yeah, 3 health or oh, this one is it cost?
Let me double check really quick.
It's right there.
No, it's 3 less the health, right? I believe that is health.
Yeah, that is.
Yep, 3 health or less, and you get to remove it, and it's like a super cheap spell, very solid. I don't know what else to say to that. But the fact you get to remove it and it doesn't go to the graveyard
Yeah,
in this game is also relevant in against some matchups as well.
yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of removal spells on 2, but this is probably like banish is like just a little bit better than sending cards to grave usually. So It's a little more abrasive for your opponent to have a card go to the banish zone sometimes than it is the grave, which is why we chose this one over other similar removal spells.
Yep. All right. Yep, it's for health. And I totally forgot. This is also a neutral. Wait, is no, it's
No, it's Haven
sorry, it's
only.
Havencraft. Yeah, sorry, my brain. All right, next here we have Shenlong. I'll let you talk about this one.
Okay, yeah. So Shenlong is a card that in the first set feels insane, and as the game gets more cards, is insane. 5 mana for 5. He draws 2, ditches 1 on play. That's fine, but then when you evolve him for 2, he heals you for 5, and he has ward. The hand filter itself is like mediocre. I don't think that's like enough. But when you start evolving him and you're getting that 5 health back, it just becomes way too much. And it triggers your discard cards. Like, right? It's if you discard a Trail of Light with this and you're playing the discard dragon, this is just a draw 2 on evolve or on
Mhm.
play. Well, also like the heal 5 is just huge, right? Because like the idea is that dragon wants to have a long game. Okay. They can try to go for that. They can try to like ramp and then abuse their powerful creatures. But the counterplay to that's usually rushing them down, and then this guy comes down, he says, "I'm gonna heal 5, I'm gonna fix their hand," and they're gonna have gas for days.
Yeah, the fact that it replaces its hand is just already like pretty solid. But when you evolve, it's essentially you're getting plus 11 health, right? Because you have the 6 health they have to get through, um, and then you gain the heal. You get a heal 5 as well, so that's
Yeah,
extra 5 as well they have to get through.
and for people who don't know, in Japanese, this is the only card currently on a, what they call the Hall of Fame, where it's limited to 1 copy in your main deck. So this card has already proven itself to be just kind of insane to deal with.
Yeah, you definitely play if in the English release they don't immediately port over the restriction list like that. This is definitely going to be played as a multiple until it gets put to the Hall of Fame. That's one thing we're totally unsure about is how soon they're going to bring over the Hall of Fame, right?
Right, and I think it's fine in the first set, because Dragon has enough weaknesses, but once Dragon starts getting the discard support as well, it's this card is removal when you discard because it triggers cards that you've played on previous turns, while
Mhm.
also healing, while filtering, while drawing. It just becomes it goes from an already kind of like a wow, that's a good card to a oh no, that's a really gross card.
Yeah, exactly. All right, number two, Dark Dragoon Forte. I mean, what can we say about this card? It's like probably one of the better finishers for Dragoncraft, right? Because we get the evolve gets rush and hexproof, and 7 to the face is pretty good.
Yeah, it's just like a pretty cheapish like card, right? 4 mana, 5/1. It has Storm.
Mhm.
And then on the evolve, it gets hexproof while also gaining stats. So for 6 mana, you're able to push a third of your opponent's health. Seems not bad, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Not
like
really
the
a
non-evolved
ton to
form
say
too
about
is
it.
still like pretty solid as well. Because if you know you can get that 5 through with ease, then it's 5 damage for 4 mana immediately, and it's like a threat they have to deal with, even though it's technically kind of easy to deal with only 1 life, but it's still something they have to deal with immediately, right?
Right. And that yeah, they'll have to like it can be awkward, right? Because they might not have a removal spell, but I'm gonna assume that they do.
Yeah. All right. Number one, which I think everyone should know, Bellringer Angel. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you,
This
you can talk
card
about it.
yeah, the I mean, it's just a 1 mana 0/2 with ward. The idea is that like it's going to be able to like soak up an attack in the early game, or maybe even in the mid game. You can just drop it down to like help curve out your mana, while also providing you a small little buffer. Like they're gonna have to play down a removal spell maybe on this. Uh, they have to waste at least 2 damage worth of removal to get this off the board, and then it draws you a card when it dies. And it has an evolve form that also gets to ping something for 2, which can be nice because you can just like evolve it, and like if your opponent goes like 1 drop, you can like drop this, evolve it, and then like pop their card. Because like
Yeah.
the idea is with like the maid leader, right? The searches, like you put it down at 1 and then you have to evolve it for 2. So to curve out better, you just present it at 1 usually. Well, like, then you could, like if you put Bellringer out first, they can't be greedy, like, and put down, like, their 1 drop first, and they might have to wait till turn 2 if they go second and, like, use all of their mana and their Evo Orb to guarantee they get their plus. Like, that's, like, a little more abstract, but this card somehow applies pressure while also being a, like, free draw in your deck, and it's just, like, all around good, and the most kid at the beginning said, not for selling, but this card is gonna be pretty good as time goes on because this is a card that every class can play. This is a neutral card, put in every deck, and your deck is gonna probably feel a little bit better.
Absolutely. It's probably like I would argue the best one drop currently in the game in general. Like I'm sure there might be some other one drops that are like specifically for whatever class or craft might be better, but like at any point when if I look at a deck list and I go I have like 2 slots open, what do I play? Bellringer Angel. All right, call it a day because like this card is just going to be good in any list. Like I don't even I'm not even sure if there are many lists that like would feel like they're wasting slots just slotting in Bellringer Angel. Do you feel that way at all?
No, it's just such a good card, and the fact it draws, and it's 1 mana. When this was in digital and it costs 2 mana, yeah, it's not a good card, right? But,
Mhm.
like, we saw it once it got, like, a little bit of a buff, and I mean, they buffed the 2 drop, but we have never seen it 1 drop in digital, right? And but if this was a
Yeah.
1 drop in digital, you would be playing this every time 'cause it eats 2. It eats 2 health. It protects you for 2. It's
Yeah.
insane. That's actually, like that's so much tempo.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I had this in opening hand every game, I'd feel happy.
Yeah, and the evolve just being able to, like, pressure the way that the game works, just the evolve pressuring your opponents, like, turn 1, and possibly forcing them to waste a resource to, like, use key cards, uh, is good also, so
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think that kind of wraps up our top 10 list here. Moving forward, like after we release this video, we're probably gonna have sporadic content coming out leading up to the release, and as we get closer to the release, we're gonna have a lot more videos hopefully then. But right now, we're gonna kind of slow down a little bit and try to put together other content and plan content for the future. And once again, if you like this content, like, comment, subscribe, all that. Please let us know in the comments below if there's any specific type of content you want to see us do in the future, especially leading up to the release. We'll try really hard to get that stuff put together and get it out there for the community as we want to see this game grow and succeed in English. Besides that, though, hope to see you guys in the next video. Later.